Romans 12 talks about renewing your mind. You don't even know what's in your mind till you are alone with yourself. Jesus said, deny yourself and follow me. You don't even know what self to deny till you make time for yourself to see what's inside you. When you learn how to be alone, to take time alone, you see your true self, which is massively important, because if you can't see your true self, you're not going to step into your purpose. What's up, guys? It has actually been a minute since I've been live on here. Things have been accelerating and I'm just keeping up. I can see comments. What's going on? What's up, Kaylin, Virginia, Sina? Good to see you. Francis, Suze. So it's been an interesting few months. I talk a lot about purpose. I talk a lot about cycles. And life is fun when you embrace your cycle. Life is fun when, firstly, you can see your cycle. Secondly, you can put intention behind your cycle. And life just speeds up, so things have been awesome. But I did take a break for about probably a couple of months from doing any podcasts. So the next few months, we're going to jam a whole bunch in. So you might want to stay tuned as I have different guests come on and we start talking about different subjects as well. I would love for you to tell me what subjects you think you would like to hear more about. If you can put that in the comments, that would be great. And I'll have some guests coming to go there, to go deep, to get real, to get in the thick of it. Well, let's do this thing. So for those of you that don't know me, or if you're watching the replay, my name is Joseph Wilson. I live in Auckland, New Zealand. Happily married to Kirsten, my beautiful wife, and 3 beautiful daughters. And right now, my assignment is to help the body of Christ, to help believers step into their God-given purpose, their God-given assignments. So this is what I am putting all my time into. I train people in discipleship, and I also coach people into starting their kingdom assignment, whether it's a podcast, a business, whether it's to scale their business to a certain extent, or whether it's to write their first book, whatever it is, to help unlock the God dream that's inside people. That's what I do. Okay. Today, I want to talk to you about the power of alone, because this is something that's heavily misunderstood. And if you can understand this, I think it would dramatically help you. So let's get into that. But I'd love to see your subjects. Don't forget, write the subjects in the chat box of what you'd like me to cover. That'd be great. So I always like to start with this. There is a minority that will move and a majority that will talk about it, act about it, pretend to be about it, that will make it look like they like it, right? There's a massive difference between the majority and the minority. And you get to decide what you want to be. You get to decide today what you want to be. Are you the minority or are you the majority? You get to decide. Now, the majority likes the idea of things. They like the idea of growth and purpose and transformation. And they like that stuff, but they won't do what it takes. When it comes time to move, the majority does not move. Okay? Jesus called 500 people to the upper room. When the time came, there was only 120, right? The majority were gone. The minority stayed, right? Jesus had thousands, tens of thousands of people that were following him everywhere, but they weren't all disciples. He had 70 that went a bit deeper, and then he had 12 that went even deeper, and then obviously 3 and 1. So the minority, I am looking to speak to the minority, and maybe you're the minority. If you're not, then you probably won't enjoy anything I have to say. Because the minority are the ones that actually want to move. And I'm guessing that is you. That's why you're on here. Okay. So quickly, alone versus lonely. I need to touch on this because you could be in a room full of people that you know celebrating your birthday, like I was in 2007, in 2006. All right, my 21st birthday, lots of people, but still feel very lonely. Lonely has nothing to do with how many people are around you. Lonely has everything to do with your inner heart condition. Okay. And today's conversation is not on loneliness. Maybe I can do one on the cure for loneliness, but to understand the difference between lonely and alone is very important, right? So when I talk about alone, I am meaning physically alone, separating yourself. You could call it consecration, you could call it isolation. Alone, physically. Lonely, you could be alone and be lonely in your heart. You could be around lots of people and be lonely in your heart. It's a different condition. So I need to separate that first before we go further, so you don't think they're the same thing. There is not any power in loneliness, right? In being in the condition of your heart of being rejected, abandoned, and feeling like no one's there for you. I'm not talking about the power of that. That must be dealt to. And one of the ways you can deal with that is by learning how to be alone. There are many people who say, well, I have no friends. I'm always alone. I'm not talking about that kind of alone. I'm talking about alone that you choose for a purpose. I'm not talking about alone by default because there's no one else around. Okay, and we'll go deeper into this. So one of the things about loneliness, just quickly to touch on, you may be lonely in your heart, because I was lonely in my heart because I didn't know how to be alone. I didn't know how to be alone. What happens when you're alone? You're left with yourself. What happens when you're alone? You can hear how to think. You hear who you are. You see who you are. And if you're scared of that, you don't want that. Just like I was, right? So you're lonely usually because you don't know how to be alone. And learning how to maximize your alone time will change that, will change this whole loneliness issue. So let me go into this, and then we'll go into one of the problems in the world today with social media and how people think they're connected, but we're not connected. And so loneliness is carrying on, but you think you're not lonely because you're not alone. You get what I'm saying? Because there's lots of friends on Facebook or lots of comments and likes on social media. All right. So what's the power of being alone? Why is it important? Number one, you are the person you will spend the most of your life with, or all of your life with. Do you realize you are the only person who is going to be with you your whole life? Friendships change, relationships change, people pass away, things change, but you will always be with you. If that is not a relationship that is maximized, you can see how jacked things can get. When you are able to be alone, you find out who you really are. And now let me put this in here, because a lot of people will be like, oh, be alone with God, be alone with God, be alone with God. You don't know how to be alone with God if you can't be alone with yourself, because you will create a version. And so a lot of religion does this, right? And I don't want to bunny trail here, but I'm talking about knowing how you think. Romans 12 talks about renewing your mind. You don't even know what's in your mind till you are alone with yourself. You don't even know what's in your heart till you are alone with yourself. Jesus said, deny yourself and follow me. You don't even know what self to deny till you make time for yourself to see what's inside you. I meet people that perpetually go through cycles, patterns over and over and over and over, because they won't take the time to be alone to find out what's really going on. So do you know you can mask your life with religion? Now, one of the ways you can mask your being alone is obviously social media. Keep yourself busy, always doing things. You could do that with religion. There are people I know who will worship. They love Jesus. They love different parts of reading the Bible and but they have patterns of falling back into drinking and drugs and porn and broken relationships over and over again. And they think that if they just pray more, if they just call out to God a little bit more, the problem will be solved. And they don't realize the problem is in the pattern that needs rewiring. That pattern cannot be rewired if you first don't even know what's in there. And you can't know what's in there if you never be alone. There is supreme power in harnessing being alone. All right, and as I say this, I want you to think about how much time do you spend alone? Are you one of those people that hates to be alone? So you're always looking for something to keep you busy. And obviously today, in this day and age, social media is the great deception to stop people from being alone. The power of alone. When you are alone, you start to see what you really believe. There are people that really trust God and believe in the things of God when they're at church, when they're at a conference, when they're in a meeting with 50 other people. But what happens when they are alone? Because that is where your real belief lies, your real thought pattern, your real feelings. You won't know these things when you are busy doing things or when you have noise cluttering your head. When you learn how to be alone, to take time alone, you see your true self, which is massively important, because if you can't see your true self, you're not going to step into your purpose. You're not going to step into your purpose. In this alone time is where your greatness gets unleashed. When you find somebody who's training for a championship fight, a boxing fight, when you find someone who's training for something massive in their life, you will see a pattern. They will isolate themselves. They will pull away from the crowd and go deep. They need to be alone. In your alone time, your greatness is unleashed. You won't find anybody doing a training camp for a world championship fight or the Olympics. They're not doing all of this in public. For that one moment in public, there are 4 years in private isolation in that alone time. If you look through the Bible, so many people, so many guys like Moses, Joseph, Gideon, David, everything is built. Their connection with God, their connection with self, their growth, their cycles, their path, it's all built in the alone time. Alone time. You know, I meet people, and as I'm coaching guys, we talk about ideas, and everybody has ideas. Everybody has massive, life-changing, world-changing ideas. In your lifetime, you will have many of them. What is the difference between someone who just has an idea and someone who sees their idea manifest, their idea come to fruition? The difference is alone time. In your alone time is where you can foster your dreams, your desires, where you're able to start telling the truth to yourself. There is so much freedom, right? The truth will make you free. There's so much freedom in being able to tell yourself the truth. This never happens in a busy place. This is not going to happen in a corporate space, right? There is a time for corporate gatherings. There is a time to be around people. There is a time to enjoy relationships, but there is a time to be alone. In fact, I would say this to you: if you have not harnessed the power of being alone, you don't know the power of being with someone else. Like, I meet people in relationships and they just jump from one relationship to another relationship to another relationship. They don't know how to be alone. And they wonder why their relationships fail. If you can't harness the power to be alone, you don't know the power of being with someone else. That's the same for friendships. That's the same for romantic relationships. Like, if you're someone that can't be single for longer than a year, 2 years, you can't be single, you don't know how to embrace a relationship. You just become what other people need you to become because you yourself are not comfortable with you. A lot of my coaching is spent helping people unlearn, rewire, retrain. And when I ask them questions about what's going on inside you, I get a peek at how they live their life. And most people live their life shutting down to who they really are. The power of alone. Harnessing the power of alone, right? Now, a lot of you might have by default been thrown into situations where you're alone, but did you harness that power in that time? Did you embrace that isolation? I'm just checking some comments. I'm seeing some people agreeing here. I cherish my alone time almost too much. Yeah, well, we can talk about that, right? We'll talk about that. And so being alone and enjoying it, being alone and enjoying you is a massive superpower. If you don't enjoy you, how do you expect someone else to enjoy you? If I don't enjoy me, if I don't like me, if I can't stand me, if I can't sit with me, if I can't stay with me, If I can't spend some time with me, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, do you know how many people will struggle today to just spend 30 minutes by themselves in a room with nothing else? It's almost like, well, what would I do? Yeah, you would hear where you're really at. So if I can't handle being alone, if I don't enjoy me, if I don't enjoy my mind, my heart, how can I expect somebody else to? Are you seeing it? Something magical happens when you learn how to harness this space, when you learn how to cultivate this space, right? From there, what happens is you start to build a strong connection with yourself and with God. You start to learn how to build a strong mindset. You start to learn how to rule your feelings instead of your feelings ruling you. You start to learn how to cultivate your purpose, cultivate the garden inside you, cultivate the ideas you have. You start to get solutions to problems in your life that were already inside you, right? Because God is inside you. The kingdom of God is inside. You start to learn how to harness, and you will learn how to bring out from the depths by learning how to be alone. Isolate to consolidate. There is a reason why Jesus took time to go and be with the Father and be by himself, why he went to pray by himself. There are people who will always pray when there are others around, but they don't pray alone. They can't because they've not developed this strong connection that we're talking about, right? If you have a hard prayer life, a crappy prayer life, maybe you have no prayer life, it might be because of this. And you might want to start taking some time out, right? So that you can consolidate who you are, right? Isolate to elevate. I like that. You can't elevate nothing without consolidating who you are, right? All elevation, all places you're going to go to come from within. And so maybe you say isolate to consolidate to then elevate, right? I love it. Love that word, elevate. But the prayer life is non-existent when you don't know how to be alone and you don't like being alone. You know, so many people are like, yeah, I tried to pray, but God never spoke to me. Because that first 5 minutes when they had to be with themselves, they didn't like it. So prayer time is like, oh, one sentence here, one sentence there, and that's about it. Because if I'm not hearing from God specifically, or something crazy, supernatural is not happening, what am I left with? With myself. And I don't want to be with myself. I'd rather be busy because I'm not sure if I like me. You know, there are many people who actually have self-hatred and don't know it because they don't allow self to say it. There are people that have had shame, that have had guilt, that have been in their life for a long time and never had a chance to see it because they never allow self to show it. And this is the thing about religion, is religion will have you convinced that you can pray things against your own will. All right, let me say that again. If in my heart and in my mind, I don't want to deal with stuff, I don't want to move past stuff, no matter how much I pray, God is not going to overpower my free will. Religion will have you convinced it's about the prayer you pray. I am telling you, it's about the heart posture, and you will not know your heart posture or your mindset till you spend time alone. All right. When you are alone, super powerful things start to happen. You learn how to get over heartache and disappointment. How many people do you know end up in rebound relationships from one thing to another? I know people in my work. I see people who go from one task to another task to another task. Like if they start something because they like the idea of it, and if it doesn't work, they rebound and they go to another task, and they just got to go to another thing and another thing and another thing, right? Or they have a problem with a relationship, a friend, or a mentor, or a pastor. They leave them and go to another one. Leave these ones, go to another one. When there's an issue, go to another one. They just go from one thing to another, to another, to another. Their whole life is from event to event, from person to person, from connection to connection. They keep bouncing, and they never have a chance to get over the real pain, the real heartache, the real disappointment that's been in them for years. When you are isolated, when you are alone, this is where you process pain. You can't process pain in public. You can't process pain around people. You can't process pain with others. The pain that needs to be processed is in you. And this happens when you are alone. Then getting over heartache, getting over a hard relationship, getting over rejection, abandonment, so many of these things must happen in your alone space. In your alone space. And this can take time. It can take hours, it can take weeks, it can take months, it can take years. And it doesn't mean you have to be months like non-stop or years non-stop or weeks non-stop. You just put time here, time there, time here, time there, and you learn how to process your pain. There's another thing religion has done is act like you have no pain, right? People think their faith is acting like I have no pain. And so they shove their pain down, and don't even realize how much pain they have from years of being hurt because they've never isolated themselves to take time to see what is in my heart, what is in my mind. The power of being alone. If you can't harness the power of being by yourself, you cannot harness the power of being with others. If I don't know how to be the body part, I don't know how to be the body. It's very, very simple. But I want to encourage you, will you be the minority and start to take time alone to be alone? Will you learn how to be alone? Last couple of things here. There is untapped potential. Your mind, your brain, your being, this is all like a muscle, okay? How do you grow muscle? You train. Every time you spend time alone, every time you go away to be by yourself and you start to spend time in that place, see what's in your heart, really connect with God from that place, you start to build a stronger mind, a stronger brain, a stronger being. And you get stronger and stronger to the point where you can lift more, you can do more, you can run more. Your capacity increases. When you learn how to be alone, you start to release potential, untapped potential. And this is something, if you can understand, then 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you will start to see your strength develop, right? Like some of you guys are like, I've recently discovered I always run from pain. Yeah, it hurts too much. It only hurts at the beginning. Do you know what hurts more? Staying in your pain. Do you know what hurts more? Not dealing with your pain. Do you know what hurts more than 6 months of feeling the pain and processing it out? Is 60 years of that same pain robbing you of a beautiful marriage, beautiful connection with your kids, beautiful connection with your friends, deep connection with God. That hurts much more. When you can't be alone, you don't see how much it is hurting you. Do you know, I know so many people that are still hurt from a loss 6 years ago, 8 years ago, and religiously they try to cover it up, but the pain's still in their heart. As soon as someone talks about marriage or children or death or abandonment or abortion or whatever, their pain perks up and they start responding and saying things out of their pain, right? Because they never took time to process it. Processing pain is its own conversation, but it's very important. If you can't be alone, you don't know how to process these things. If you've never spent time alone, if you don't have a culture of having alone time, you don't know how to progress, how to process, how to develop. Very, very important. So when I'm talking about being alone, I don't just mean you sit there and watch TV or you sit there and do something. I mean being alone on purpose, with intention. All right. One of the things is that when life gets hard, which it's going to get hard, because again, religion likes to tell you, oh, life is great. Just pray, just pray. No, life is going to get hard. You're going to have some hard days. You're going to have days where you want to quit. You're going to have people that are going to let you down. You're going to make some mistakes. Hello. All right. There are people that are scared to make mistakes. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to have mistakes made against you. You're going to have things stolen from you, things taken from you. You're going to have people that are going to misunderstand you, misrepresent you. It is going to happen. It happened to Jesus. It's going to happen to you. A student is not above the teacher. This stuff's going to, when life gets hard, do you know what you go back to? You go back to your training. You go back to your inner you. What happens when you face depression? You're left with yourself. When you have anxiety and fear and worry, you're left with yourself, right? This is where you go back to when life hits the fan, when crap hits the fan, when things go crazy. This is what happens. And when you have not developed You, which can only happen in the alone time. You don't know how to deal with situations. All right, I'll give you an example. 2020, when COVID hit and everyone had to isolate, why was it so suicidal? Or when people are killing it, do you know why they're killing themselves? Because we have not learned how to be alone. And suddenly all the pain, all the unhealed trauma, all the unhealed, unprocessed abandonment, rejection, hurt, suddenly when you're isolated showed up and people didn't know how to deal with it. Learning how to be alone will radically, dramatically change your life. And COVID proved that to us. Like people getting put in lockdown, right? Especially the early lockdown. Who were you left with? You were left with you. And if you didn't like what you saw in the mirror, there was not much you could do about it. You were left. There were couples. There were divorces that happened. And there are people that are saying, oh, you should stop the lockdown because of the divorce. No, you should stop the lockdown for other reasons. But why don't we fix the real problem of why people commit suicide? Why don't we face the fact that people have self-hatred in their own heart towards themselves because of guilt and shame and pain? People in marriages realized, oh my gosh, I don't actually love my wife like that, right? Because before, when things got hard, they would numb their relationship issues by leaving and going out with their friends. Oh, thanks, honey. I'll be back. And they thought that that's how you deal with crappy relationships. And then lockdown happens. Now you got to see your spouse all day, every day, and people are having fights. Well, fights didn't suddenly happen. Now you can't run away from what you were running away from before because you don't know how to be alone. When you don't know how to be alone, when you don't know how to harness the power of being with yourself, you won't know how to harness the power of being with someone else. And so training your mind, training your heart, training your being is the most important skill you can engage. Because no matter what happens in the world, and trust me, there are changes coming. We think changes have already happened. No, there are changes coming we can't even understand right now. The only thing you are left with is this. Will you train yourself? And you can't train yourself if you can't be alone. All right? Your best ideas, your best plans, your best inspiration comes when you're alone. Some of you like to be alone, but what's happening in your life? What is the fruit in your life? What are the relationships like in your life? All right, what's happening in your life? If you want more, if you know there is more, this is where you start to engage that. And I'll talk about this, like being alone is the beginning process, but then learning how to go cycle to cycle, to increase, to grow, glory to glory, is what's going to make the massive difference. All right. When you're alone, you get your best ideas, your best plans, your best inspiration. When you're alone, how you think is exposed. There are people who don't realize they're very selfish, right? So they wonder why their relationships are crappy or they never have finances, but they can't see they're so selfish till they spend time alone. How you think is exposed when you are alone. Some of you might be in for a shock the first time you spend time by yourself. Because you might hear things that you're like, I had no idea I had that in my heart. I had no idea I had that in my mind. All right? When you're alone, you start to see things for what they really are. So how do we begin? Number one, I need you to start thinking about how you think. So many people don't think about how they think. They just have a thought and think that that's it. No, you control your thoughts. And so you start to think about how you think. You start to catch your patterns. You start to catch your negative default thinking patterns that are ugly, that leave you broken, leave you alone, leave you, when I say alone, let me say lonely, right? Leave you hurt. You start to catch these patterns that see the pain that keeps showing up. You start to see how you think is causing issues. And this can be for any area. All right, let me give you some examples. Like if you think that your job is to make your family safe, because some of you, that's what you think. You think your job is to protect your family. And so because you think like that, you take all kinds of drastic action to protect your family. And at the end of the day, your son is going to do what he wants. Your daughter's going to do what she wants. Your husband's going to do what he wants. Your wife's going to do what she wants. And they do what they want and cause you pain. And you keep going through these cycles because you've never thought about how you think. There is a problem in how you think. Because what you think is you are in charge of everyone else's lives. And you need to make everybody else's life better. You understand? Learning to think about how you think. how you think about money, how you think about your future, how you think about your purpose, how you think about you, how you think about you. If you start to catch that, man, game changer. So number one, you must learn to think about how you think. How do you do that? Start journaling. Start journaling. Hey, let me hit this thing one more time, okay? My goal is to get the body of Christ into their God assignment, not their church assignment, God's assignment, God vision, right? And one of the things that stops people from stepping into that is they don't want to think about how they think. So they don't catch the fear. They don't catch the wrong belief systems. They don't catch the limiting belief systems. They don't catch the poverty mindset. They don't catch the scarcity. They don't catch the rejection, abandonment. And they try and produce a result without first producing the way of thinking. You will never live past how you think. You will never outlive what you think. So if you want to change your life, you must change your thinking, okay? Number two, schedule daily time, daily alone time. In the morning and at nighttime is the best. When you wake up in the morning, if you are reaching for your phone, let me challenge you. Start to take 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, 15 minutes. See if you can go 30 minutes to an hour eventually without touching your phone. It is going to help your brain. Put your phone somewhere. Get another alarm, right? I've developed a pattern where my phone's on airplane mode. When I wake up, nothing happens till I meditate first. I go and have my alone time. I have my time with God. Nothing. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk to any person till I have done that. So I am ready for the day. Then, no matter what news comes at me, good, bad, ugly, I can handle because I'm ready, right? So that's number two. Schedule daily time alone. And if you can do this in the morning and at night before I go to bed, when my head hits the pillow and everything's done for the day, I love that time because whatever I go to sleep with is what I'm going to wake up with. So scheduling daily time, very, very important. So number one, think about how you think. Number two, schedule daily time. Beginning of the day, end of the day. Number three, you got to minimize the noise. You have to minimize the noise. Get off social media. Different times in the day, different times in the week. Shut the thing off. It is jacking your brain up. You looking at what somebody else is doing and what someone else is doing and what someone else is a waste of your life. It's a waste of your time. You have more in your life than you realize. Shut off the social media. Stop being around other people all the time. You need to embrace this. Start to minimize the noise. Minimize the noise, okay? So that's number three. Number four, journal your journey. Start to write down everything that's happening. What do I mean by that? The first day you do this, you might be very irritated. You might be very irritated. Write that down. Day one, super irritated. I hate Joseph for giving me this suggestion, right? Whatever it is, write it down, but keep journeying. Nighttime, write it down. Next day, write it down. Write the journey, journal the journey. Then on day 5, you might be like, oh my gosh, I just realized I still have hatred in my heart towards my body because when I was 15, this guy said that about my body. This girl said that about my body. I still have hatred because this man came and touched me when I was 9 years old and it made me feel yuck about my body. Since that, you start to catch things, journal it down, start dealing with that, right? Learn how to take your next step. I'm just giving you some next steps here. Okay, so number one, think about how you think. Number two, schedule some time. Start with 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Start somewhere. Okay, that's how you begin building the muscle. Number three, minimize the noise. Get off social media during the day. Learn how to take hours away from crap, like all this stuff, people talking, people's opinions, people's ideas. You don't need that all the time. Start to declutter your mind, right? Number four, journal your journey. Write it all down. Be real, be raw. Tell the truth. Don't try and pretend in the journal. Write it all down. Like today's really hard, or today's really easy, or today was really fun, or whatever, right? Write it all down. And let me end with this. So these are the 4 things, but let me end with this. Learning how to harness this power is going to unleash something in you you don't even know you have right now. You don't even know you have it right now. And so as you spend time alone, you will start to catch your divine blueprint. You can't see your divine blueprint in public and the noise and the craziness of life. Your divine blueprint. You're going to have many ideas. Write all your ideas down in your journal. I recommend you always write ideas down. But in your alone time, as you sit in the idea, some of these ideas are going to come alive. They're going to come alive. All right. So these 4 things, I want to encourage you to start doing them. They're going to change your life. Now, let me end with this again. Okay. When I started, I said the minority. It's always a small percentage of people that move. The majority like to talk about it, pretend to be about it, like to think about it, but never move. So I'm encouraging you. These 4 steps I gave you, are you going to do them? I hope you're going to do them. Are you going to do them? Let me know in the comments. All right. Let me end with this. 3 life-changing things you can do. Number 1, go get a coach, get a mentor. Joseph, why get a coach? A coach is going to help you speed up and collapse time. A coach is going to start calling out things in you didn't see, good, bad, and ugly. A coach is going to help you jump over walls and break through walls and get over blockages. A coach is going to take you places you probably couldn't go alone. And even if you could, that coach is going to do that in half the time or even faster. So number 1, go get a coach. It's going to help you. Number 2, get a community. Go find some people that think like you, right? I used to try and be all things for all people. I'm like, nah, I'm not interested in the religious community. Most of them don't do anything with their life. I'm not interested in playing church and playing God and acting like, oh, yeah. No. I want to fulfill my life's mission, my life's purpose, and I'm around people that do the same. Get a community. When you get a community, you're going to get brothers, sisters who are going to be with you, who are going to carry you through tough times, and you're going to start to see, you'll be inspired by what's happening in the collective, right? And number 3, go all in. I need you to go all in. You got to stop playing games. There are so many people playing games. Let me end with this, okay? I've been to the ICU last couple of weeks. I've seen people breathe their last breath, right? Like as in die. And it's really hit me. I'm all into my life. I'm all into my life, right? In my life, for my life, my purpose, whatever you want to call it. Are you all in? Are you all in? These are 3 things I'm recommending. Get a coach, get a mentor. Going to change your life. Get a community. It's going to help you flourish. And then number 3, learn how to go all in, holding nothing back. Live full, die empty. That's my motto. Live full, die empty. All right. So bless you. I hope this helped you. Feel free to private message me if you got anything you want to talk about or you want to go deeper. You want me to coach you? Get in on that. Let's go. All right. Otherwise, do the homework. Love you lots. I'm going to see you again with our next one. Bless you.
Faith and patience. Faith and patience. Patience means allow it to happen. Stay the same. Stay persistent. Keep going. Faith, know that it can happen at any moment. Get excited because it can happen at any moment. You were so close. Don't quit now. Keep pushing. You got this.